everyone, and welcome to Discovering Doctor Who. Today is the Season 3 recap for, well, the new Doctor Who. Now, as you may know, I had a little bit of a hiatus that took place partway through this season. And because of that, it would be really hard for me to go back and really determine what all of my favorite episodes were, what some of my least favorite episodes were, just because, I've not that I've forgotten the episodes, but I can't really recall, the full feeling I got from some of them, especially the ones that I watched before I took my break. So what I'm going to be doing is a little bit different today, and if you all like some of the stuff I talk about, I might include it in future wrap-up / recap episodes, so to speak. But anyway, the first thing I'm going to do today was actually, it wasn't really suggested by anyone, but throughout this entire season, several people kept referring to the music, especially certain songs from this season's soundtrack. And what I ended up doing was I went online and found the soundtrack for this season and listened to it, and I believe there's around 28 tracks for this season, and I decided to whittle it down to my top 5, which was incredibly hard. There are so many good songs in this season, but I did manage to whittle it down to my top 5 and an honorable mention, which honestly isn't really my number 6, but I'll explain why I've made it an honorable mention. But let's get into my list of the top 5 songs from Season 3 of the new Doctor Who. Number 5 is Martha's theme. I tripped over my words. But this song, you hear it multiple times throughout the entire season, and to begin with, I love the character Martha. I mean, before she even joined the show, I thought she was beautiful, but I mean, as the season went on, I really grew to like her as a character very much so, and the song it fits her character so well. It's so calming, it's beautiful, it's just a song that I really just can't get tired of, no matter how many times I hear it. It's like I said, it's just a beautiful song, and easily in my top 5. Now, number 4 is Bo. And the reason I picked this for number 4 is that the funny thing is I didn't even really remember this song while the season was going on, so I don't know exactly when it occurred. Maybe during Bo's one, I assume during the Face of Bo's 1 appearance, maybe a few other points, but the music is it's so calming, and it has a lot of different dynamics, but that's really, even when the Face of Bo is on screen, except for, I guess, technically the second episode that the first episode I ever saw him in, / the second episode of the first season, whenever he's around, there's very much this sense of calm, and I don't know if that's what they meant to do, but the character just has a very calming presence, and the deep voice only adds to that. And now that I know who the Face of Bo actually is, that adds a weird little dynamic to it. But by itself, before that was even made a thing, I would say that's probably the number 1 surprise of the season for me, right alongside the Master. But yeah, just the music for the Face of Bo was beautiful and calming, and I absolutely loved it. Now, the number 3 on my list is, I guess you would call it YANA, because I mean the title for the track is YANA in all caps, so YANA. And I don't know, it says it's an excerpt, so I don't know what exactly it comes from, if it's an excerpt from a song maybe related to the Master or what, but every time I heard that song listening through the soundtrack, it immediately brought to mind the segment through Utopia, and just all the chaos that was going on, and it's just such a powerful song. I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that number 3 easily is just because of what it makes me recall and how powerful it is. That's why YANA is number 3 on this list. Now, number 2 some of you all might have some guesses as to what my top 2 might be, and so number 2 might surprise you because you might expect it to be number 1. But my number 2 pick is This Is Gallifrey, Our Childhood, Our Home. And I'm not gonna lie, it was so hard to pick between this one and the one I actually picked for number 1, because this song is just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a great song, such wonderful dynamics, and it really just brings to mind, every time I hear it, I picture this beautiful alien world with a little glimpse of Gallifrey that we got in, which episode did he describe it in? I think it was The Sound of Drums. But even the way he described it earlier in the season as well, it was just so good. And yeah, number 2 easily. Just such a great song, and one that I definitely played over and over while trying to decide on my top 5 here. Which brings us to number 1. And this song, I don't know, it might be a little bit controversial for some of you all because it might not be in your top 5, but for me, the number 1 song of this season was Martha's Quest. Now, I guess it's kind of cheating to have two of Martha's songs in this list, but the reason why it's so high, well, first of all, it's a gorgeous song, beautiful, so somber, and just an amazing song in general. But then the last, I think, like minute and 20 seconds set in, and the theme from the music that's playing right at the very end of The Sound of Drums comes in, and it's one of those themes that I don't even have to be hearing it. I can just think about it and it gives me chills, because that's just such an intense, crazy segment with all of the I forgot their names. Anyway, the orb creatures, all of them flying down to Earth and slaughtering a tenth of the planet, and the Master has won the day, basically, and it's the beginning of this year-long oppression. And just the music as it's playing I hear it over and over again in my head, and it's one that, again, like I said, I don't even have to be listening to it, although I replayed it a lot, but I don't even have to be listening to it. Just have to think about it for the song to give me chills, just thinking about what all is going on during that time in the show. And that's why it's number 1 for me. It's just so powerful, so good, and like I said, number 1 on my list, absolutely. And now, my honorable mention was one that it brings something to mind, much like some of the other songs. But my honorable mention is The Dream of a Normal Death. And unless I'm mistaken, that is the song that plays when John Smith, as the Doctor is at the time, and Joan Redfern have that flash forward, basically, to the future that they could have together. The future that both of them would have if he stayed as John Smith and did not change back to the Doctor. And that music just brings this it's just so sad, and so it just punches you in the gut, or at least it punches me in the gut when it brings those images to mind, because that's just so incredibly sad that this character that the Doctor could have led this wonderful life, but it's not meant to be because the Doctor has to live on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not this season had so many great songs. And while that one isn't even in the top 5, and maybe not even number 6, it was so hard to pick from all of those. And so I want to know, honestly, what your all's top 5 or top 10 or whatever your favorite songs of this season were, because like those were my choices. Martha's Theme, Bo, Yana, This Is Gallifrey, and Martha's Quest. And I just absolutely love those songs amongst so many other songs that were just so well done and so powerful. There were some, admittedly, that I don't care for, that's just personal choice, honestly. I didn't hate the songs. They're just like they're not things that I would just listen to on a whim or be listening to like say while I'm working. But these top 5 songs, absolutely without a doubt. But moving on from that, one thing that several people brought up before the final finale of this season even came up was a short called Time Crash. And I'm glad that, for very good reasons, I'm glad that I waited to watch these videos until after the season was over, because it's a little short. For those of you that don't know, I'll actually provide a link in the description for this video, but the little short takes place in between the very end of the episode Last of the Time Lords and the very, very end where the ship crashes through. And it's I guess like maybe a 6-minute short, and it has Peter Davidson, the 5th Doctor. And it was just such a fun segment. Now, I don't have the personal connection to this Doctor because I haven't seen any of his episodes, so I don't really know his personality. And while David Tennant's Doctor was, just totally fanboying over him, which was hilarious and adorable to see, it's great to see him loving that, but I don't know who this Doctor is. I don't know how he usually is. He's apparently kind of grumpy, or seemingly so. I don't know. But the one thing that honestly cracked me up, and David Tennant's Doctor called this out at least a couple of times and made me laugh audibly, but the celery on his shirt. For those of you out there that have watched the classic Doctor Who, why the celery? Is there a purpose behind it, or is it just something he always wore for whatever reason? Please do let me know, unless it is a spoiler for some reason, which I don't think it would be. If it is, that's really weird. But yeah, that was just a really fun short and something that I really enjoyed, honestly. Unfortunately, I didn't have a huge reaction to it just because of my lack of connection with the 5th Doctor. But hopefully that will change someday in the future, and I'll be able to rewatch this short and have a completely different experience. And actually, now, while I've been recording this, I was thinking about, even though I don't have a list of my favorite episodes for this season, there were certain ones that definitely do stand out to me. So I would say my favorite episode is not Blink. You would think it would be because it was really good, but I would actually consider that my number 2 favorite of this season. My absolute favorite episode of this season would be the 2-parter, I forgot the name, Human Nature and the Family of Blood. That 2-parter was just so well done, so good. And I mean, honestly, even though I took my hiatus, I feel like the absolute strongest episodes of this season were the ones that I watched after my hiatus. And among those alone, it's like these 2 episodes really stood out for me because it was so strange to see the Doctor not as the Doctor. And all of these really good actors and really good performances, and these very dark enemies that they're not exactly misunderstood, but they misunderstood the Doctor, I guess that's one way to put it. But they underestimated him, definitely. And there were just so many good things about those 2 episodes. If you want to see the full detail, obviously go back and watch the video if you haven't already. But yeah, that 2-parter is what I would consider my favorite episode of this season, personally. Now, before I finish up this recap episode, I do want to bring up the topic of the contest, which is something that I mentioned a few videos ago for the slowly approaching 500 subscriptions to the channel. And as of this recording, as I'm recording this, the subscription count is at 460. It's up 2 since yesterday alone, and that just absolutely blows me away. So we're right now within 40 subscriptions of hitting 500, and once that happens, I am going to hold a contest for the channel. And what I've decided to do is this. And basically what will happen is I will post a video that will include really all of the in detailed information. But the main aspect of it is I'm picking, or I have picked, 4 artists. Basically I would consider them 4 of my favorite artists. And what you will do is you will either leave a comment in that video or send me an email with the name of the artist that you want to pick. And well, within the video I will give examples of some of their works, and I will also provide links to their pages so you can see some of the works that they have available. And whoever I pick, and I will actually do another video, I'll put everyone's name in a hat and I'll draw it at random, and whoever wins will get a free print from that artist. And honestly, the ones that I have in mind, I've already shown some of their works, possibly all of them now that I think about it, but, well, maybe not one of them, but I don't want to ramble on that. But like I said, I will show a bunch of their works so you can really judge it yourself. And honestly, their works are so good. This is something I want to do more often than just like this upcoming milestone, honestly. And as you know, if there's the potential of the channel growing even more, then all the better, because then I'll be able to really let you all know about these artists that I love so much. And if there's enough attention that comes to that contest, I might consider a second prize winner. We'll see about that. It makes me really excited to think that, I have to think within my budget, obviously, so I'm not going to make any promises, but I hope you all are looking forward to that, and hopefully the next 40 subscriptions will come sooner than later, and that'll end up happening. It is my goal to hit 500 subscribers before the end of this year, and I think it is possible. I honestly really do. But I'm rambling on about that a little bit too much. Let's finish up this recap, and it's basically this. Now, some of you asked, what my thoughts were about the end of the final episode, like the very last scene of Last of the Time Lords. And basically the biggest question that came to mind, okay, I had 2 questions. One very small, one more detailed. The small one was basically the doctor's reaction. What? What? One word. What? And then when you see the not life raft, God, words aren't coming to me today. But anyway, when you see the name Titanic on there, I couldn't help but ask myself, is the TARDIS the iceberg that sunk the Titanic? I'm so ready to get into this next episode and figure out what in the world is going on, because the name of the episode is more than a little foreboding, to say the least. Voyage of the Damned. So, yeah, it's if he's gonna be on the Titanic, I'm really interested to see where this goes. And apparently Kylie Minogue's in the episode, which is something that's been pointed out to me. So, I don't know, are we gonna have a Jack and Rose situation? Rose. Sorry. But, and Jack. Okay, there's way too many connections there, way too many jokes that could be said. But, like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this next season has to bring, and ready to jump into the Christmas episode that will start off season 4. And everyone, thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you for sticking around through my hiatus. It really means a lot to me, and all of the comments and the conversations you all have in these videos, even if I don't respond directly, because sometimes honestly for me it's so much more fun to read, and I feel like I don't have anything to contribute. But thank you all for being part of this community, and it's slowly growing, and I just love seeing what every single one of you have to say. Thank you. Once again, I think I've said that at least 10 times now. But everyone, thank you very much for joining me on this recap, and I will see you next time on the next Discovering Doctor Who. Allons-y!